so what we're going to do this afternoon is a golden oldie. I say golden oldie because it's something I grew up with in Australia, and I think most households will have it, but it's a really good one to bring back in these times when we can cook at home and we don't have to go out and buy chocolate from the supermarket. Hugh needs this in the fridge as a stable. After he's been on his bike, he needs the chocolate caramel slice in its little squares in case he needs a little energy pickup. So we just have a cup of coconut, we have half a cup of self-raising flour, half a cup of ordinary flour. We've got a nice cup of soft brown sugar. We have some butter and some extra butter, and I will give you all the necessary ingredients and the quantities when you get this video. We've got golden syrup and some chocolate and condensed milk. So what we're going to start off with doing is mixing our coconut and our flour here. We need to melt our butter, and then we'll pour this in here. In the meantime, if you're doing this with me, just line yourself a nice square cake tin. It does need to be lined because otherwise you'll find this caramelizes and will get stuck in the bottom of your tin. Stop. So I did say the brown sugar needs to go into here as well. So they're our main ingredients for our base. So while the butter's melting here, we're just going to get our full can. Now this is not a super healthy recipe, but it's nice to indulge every now and then. I don't indulge. This is Hugh's treat, and anyone else who wants to come round to the house for a coffee. I've got my extra butter, 30 grams. It's going to go in here. And 2 tablespoons of golden syrup. If you don't have golden syrup, use honey. Let me just scrape this out. Just use some honey in there. Not everyone has access to golden syrup. Well, certainly not in France anyway. Oops, so I'll just turn that down. And 2 nice big tablespoons of golden syrup. That's enough. So I've got my golden syrup, my extra butter, and this is just going to go onto medium heat. I'll put on about 5. Need a wooden spoon. And just keep stirring that when that's starting to melt. So on this side, our butter has just about melted. So we're going to pour this straight into here. Mix that around. The coconut's healthy. The brown sugar's healthy. Butter from the farm's healthy. Okay. See how that's all come together? This is going to get pressed into the bottom of this pan. Oh, I'll show you in a minute. Just with the back of your spoon, just press that down into the bottom of your tin so it's all nicely evenly distributed, and right to the sides. Try and make sure you don't have any holes either in the base, because otherwise our caramel sauce is going to seep through. Okay, so I've preheated my oven at 160. So this is going to go in for 15 minutes, and our caramel will then go on top afterwards. Voila! There we go, that goes in. Okay, so whilst the base is cooking in the oven for about 15 minutes, I'm just gently stirring this every now and then. It's to make sure the golden syrup doesn't stick and burn on the bottom of this pan. So we're just going to keep stirring that for another couple of minutes, and then we'll turn the heat off and then we're going to pour it over the top of our base. So you can see how this has changed to a nice deeper colour. Doesn't look like your white condensed milk. It's got a nice caramel colour to it. So we're just going to put that here. I can smell with my little nose that our base is ready. And you can see it's got a gorgeous caramel colour. So we're just going to pour this over the top and put it back into the oven for about 10-15 minutes, and then we'll take it out and let it cool. Goes back in there. So in the meantime, I'm going to melt my chocolate. I have 170 grams. I'm putting it in a little double boiler here, and I'm going to put just a little tablespoon of oil. It'll give it that shine that I want. So we're just going to let that melt slowly over a low heat, and then I'll show you how we pour it when our filling's ready. Okay, so I've taken the base of the slice. This is the caramel, and I've let this cool for about 5 minutes. Here is my melted chocolate, so I'm just going to pour this all over the top. And then I'm going to try and just roll this around so it becomes even on the top. And then this needs to set in the fridge for 24 hours before we chop it up into little squares. Of course, you can chop it up any way you like. My mum used to give Katrina and I a little slice of this with our packed lunch. I like to chop this in small squares and offer it to our guests at Chalet Savoir Faire at the end of a meal when they're in front of the fire or sitting outside with a glass of rosé, a cup of tea or coffee. Hugh just likes to eat this all day, every day. And I'll show you when it's finished.